Hello, and welcome to We Live for Saturday, your favorite college football podcast. I'm your co host, Mike, and John is not with me today, sadly. So I've got some bad news, good news thing. The bad news is John is having a busy week, so he's not able to be on this pod. He should be able to be on the review pod when we review the Big Ten championship weekend next week. But I have an awesome awesome guest hosts lined up, and here is the latest. His name is Andrew, or should I be introducing you as Corp?
Yeah, both both work, man. Yeah.
All right. So is Andrew or Corp? He goes by that. He's Life of Corp, and I'll have his on Instagram and the other socials and whatnot. But he is a lifelong big in the music industry, big in promoting things in the cities, which is very cool. But he's also an Indiana native and a lifelong Hoosiers fan and an Indiana alum at that. So please tell me your story a little bit and how you came to be a big Hoosiers fan. Oh, and Kinetic is in the chat right here. What's up, y'all? Go Blue. Hey, thank you, Eric. Appreciate you always. Thanks for hopping in the chat and saying what's up. And please keep commenting. We are gonna, we are live streaming this, so we will read comments as long as they're not too ridiculous. As long as we're vaguely talking about football. You can ask about personal stuff if you want, but as I always say, just don't make it super weird. Just keep it, to something that's kind of reasonable, and we will probably read your comments as we go here. So, Andrew, tell me the backstory. You are an Indiana native, and it started there, correct?
Yeah, no, I'm from Fort Wayne, Indiana. So, it's northeast, relatively bigger city, had a pretty big high school. How I came to Indiana, believe it or not, I didn't get into any colleges when I first applied.
Okay.
But my twin brother got a full ride to the Kelley School of Business, which is, number one business school in America. And so, my mom, being the mom she is, gave the university a call, and she's like, no, he's going there, so I had to retake some tests, but ultimately got my foot in the door to go to IU. IU is particularly, I wanted to go to a bigger school, but Indiana was just close enough to home as well. Being able to go there with my brother as well was a pretty awesome. I have a twin brother, so it's kind of, one of those deals where, you've had a bond with someone for years. And so going to the same college at that point made the most sense. But Indiana, man, when I first got to campus, it's, different than your, ordinary bigger school campus. It's a very small city. Bloomington is very compact. You can pretty much walk to one end. Anywhere you want to go, you can walk to it. It's not like, I've been to the U of M campus. It's a little bit more spread out.
Right.
Yeah,
Bloomington's great that way. It is very convenient. You're right. That's a good way to put it. And it's beautiful there.
Yeah, no, it's amazing college. I went there, ended up doing 5 years because I had some medical issues. But
and you competed there in sports while you were there.
Yeah,
correct?
yeah. So I was a good, I was a golfer. Growing up, me and my dad and my twin, we'd always go golfing. I also ran track. So coming to Indiana, I wanted an opportunity to continue playing, and so Indiana being that. One of the top golf schools in the Big Ten, and as well as the nation as well. I kind of decided to be the president and lead our club golf team, which was even better than most college teams that you can that you run across in golf, at least.
Right.
And then running track. They have an event at Indiana University called the Little 500. It's a bike race. They have, you basically do a relay with 4 people on a bike, and you have to get around this asphalt track for 500 laps. So,
wow.
Yeah.
500 laps?
Yeah.
That's
or
wild.
I think it's 250 because it's a 500. I think it's 500 miles, correct? If I remember correctly. I just know the little 50 is what we ran. And so it's 50 laps, 12 miles around the track. And we had a 4-person running relay. So similar to the bike, but instead of having a bike, you have 4 people, you run a lap, you hand the baton off. So I think we averaged like 4:38 or something like that per mile, which was pretty crazy. We were lapping people and end up setting the school record for that event. But
Wow.
it
School
really,
record.
yeah,
Incredible.
a lot of the guys that I ran with on my team, a couple of them ended up running for the school as well. And so
Yep.
we would join in on some of the indoor meets because you can kind of check yourself in as a amateur. They let amateur, as long as you're in the age range and you're a college student, you can compete with other colleges and even runners on the IU team. So yeah, no, Indiana was a good experience. The basketball team, I got to experience a little bit of like both best of both worlds, right? So when we got there, we had all the sanctions from Kelvin Sampson, and
Right.
um, so believe it or not, they had open tryouts for the basketball team for Coach Crane. And so I
Amazing.
was I was one of 35 people that actually showed up to
Right.
City Hall to try out because I love
But that was
basketball.
fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh, dude, it was great. And the one thing I had going for me is, the first day was all suicides. So
Right. So you're just killing people,
he
showing
basically
them
was
up.
trying to weed out people
Yep.
to see if your stamina's not good to run suicides for a whole day, then you're probably not good fit to play Big Ten basketball.
Yeah, for real.
um,
What was I gonna say? Hey, so Eric in the chat, since we're reading all comments, I'll put this out there. Coy Parrish would look great in maize and blue in 2026. I don't want to hear it, Eric. You leave Coy Parrish alone. Coy Parrish is a Minnesota legend, and the man is, I will give him credit. You know why I think he's staying? Because he's figured out how to monetize it himself, too. He's not just taking the school's money. He sells jerseys and other apparel, merchandise, not through the school. Not
yeah,
through the school. Oh, Max in the chat says Coy is a Buckeye. No, not that either. Coy is great where he is. You can all leave Coy Parrish alone.
I was gonna say Coy Parrish to the Hoosiers, but I know
I don't want to hear that either.
I know you don't. That's the last thing you want to hear. But I will say you brought up a good point, right? When believe it or not, when 3 years ago, I think it's been 3 years since they made the NIL changes, to where
Right.
students, student athletes can benefit and get paid off their name. The first thing I did, believe it or not, when the news broke, I think it was like a couple of days later. Me and my good friend, we went down to the U of M campus in a limo and picked up the basketball team, and
Wow.
we took them to Fogo de Chao, and we were sitting with these guys, right? And and mind you, these are guys that I was doing a lot of promotions for concerts, and so I ended up meeting Parker Fox, actually.
Parker Fox,
Yeah,
former Golden Gopher basketball player. Everybody loves
really,
Parker.
really
He's
amazing
doing
guy.
media stuff now.
Yeah, really amazing guy. But this tall guy comes up to me at one of the concerts, and he was like, he's like, hey, do you know where to go find, do you know when so and so is playing? I think it was the Glorilla concert or something like that. And I was like, yeah, it's boom boom. I was like, who are you here with? And so I actually ended up putting them up in like a little private section and got to know those guys. So
Cool.
we took a limo down to the campus, took them out to dinner.
Sure.
And I really wanted to be the guy that could to go help sell them and help them get NIL deals with, even though like we went to this local ramen place over in Robbinsdale. It was simple as like, hey, give this athlete a couple of $1,000s per month, give them free food whenever they want. We'll give you 3 videos of them promoting your business online, and boom, that in a nutshell, that's
The
how
way
NIL
NIL was meant to be initially. Before it was just a cash slush fund. Like
Oh
what
wow.
NIL was supposed to actually be, like
Yeah.
people dealing with local businesses and stuff like that. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So it's
Absolutely. That's very cool.
Yeah, so I don't think Coy Parrish is going anywhere anytime soon, mainly
No, I
because
don't think so.
he is kind of like the hometown kid, and I'm sure he's doing pretty well on his NIL money.
No, he's getting Coy's getting paid. Okay.
Yeah.
Coy's getting paid. You don't worry about that. And like I said, on top of that, he's monetized it crazy himself. He's not just taking, most people let the school sell the jerseys and just take a cut. He's selling them all directly. I know. I bought one for my 5-year-old nephew.
There you go.
So
how much are they selling those for?
Like $85.
That's not bad. Is it signed?
No, it's not on my. No, it's not. I wonder if you probably get him signed though.
Hell yeah, you can get them signed.
I'm sure you could. That's a good
but
call. All right. Well, this pod is going to be so we can talk to everyone in the chat. We can talk anything college football playoff. I know the playoff rankings are coming out. Also, coaching carousel stuff. But other than that, we are going to preview the Big Ten title game between the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Indiana Hoosiers. And also, just tell you about the hat quickly. I'm wearing the Solid hat. This is from friend of the pod, Ty of the Solid Verbal podcast. He was nice enough to be a guest last summer. Solid Verbal, obviously, is an extremely popular college football podcast. And he said after he came on, he said, I'm going to get you some merch. And I said, man, you came on my pod. You did me a favor. You don't have to get me merch. But he said, I'm getting it for you. So here it is, the Solid Verbal hat. Everyone check them out. They're awesome too. So Solid Verbal. Got to love, especially Ty. Ty's a great Twitter follow as well. I can't really relate to him because the man is a Notre Dame and Penn State fan, and I cheer for the Golden Gophers, so not quite the same vibe. But he's a nice guy, and they do a great job over there. So check out that pod if you get a chance and you want more of like a national look. We do the Big Ten thing here. If you want to look at like the whole country, coast to coast, check out Solid Verbal. I think they do it as well as anybody does, for sure. This title game, I sang, Andrew, going into it, my question is this the biggest Big Ten title game ever? Because you've got the number 1 team in the nation and the number 2 team in the nation. They're both undefeated, playing for the Big Ten title. The winner wins the Big Ten, gets the overall number 1 seed in the playoff, and also goes on to play in the Rose Bowl. And if you're a Big Ten fan, you know what a big deal it is to go play in the Rose Bowl. So is this the last time I think there was a Big Ten game this big, I'll say, was when Ohio State played Michigan in the last game of the season in 2006, and they were ranked 1 and 2. And I think the game final score was like 42-39, and a lot of people thought there would be a rematch in the national title game, just like a lot of people think this could be a game where you get a rematch in the title game again. So this is, I think, the biggest Big Ten title game ever. They've been doing it for 15 years. I think this is our 15th or 16th Big Ten title game. Yeah. What do you think, Andrew? What do you think about this year's game compared to past Big Ten title games we've seen?
I think this one is going to hit different. If you think
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, if you think about the powerhouses in the Big Ten, Ohio State, Michigan, even Wisconsin, everyone's had a fair shot and have had glimpses of really good hopes and making it, in the title game. And then also now that the CFP has been dropped, it's a good opportunity to show who's really the top dog in the Big Ten, and I think for me, and I try to not be biased, but Ohio State, they've always been that team, right? And so
they're the 800-pound gorilla in the room always.
Yeah, and Indiana, they're not your typical scrappy underdogs anymore. This is a disciplined Big Ten football team. You see it every game this year, basically, that they've stepped on the field. I feel like they're showing up. They're competing from snap one. Mendoza has just absolutely played fantastic. He doesn't make errors as much as your typical quarterback.
No, Fernando Mendoza basically doesn't make mistakes.
He doesn't. And it's you can argue that some teams, even when we started getting the latter end of the season here, it's no longer about, seeing flashes of greatness, right? I got to the point where even this last game with Purdue, you get the jitters because you're like, man, I remember all those Hoosier games that God, they'd be up and just blow it up, right, in the fourth quarter, and they can't stay consistent. So I think that with Mendoza and also, the wide receiver core that he has, I think if they can run their routes correct, and they can be consistent, not make mistakes, we have just as much speed as Ohio State does.
Think so.
So I think so.
I would have said that's the one place where they have an edge, maybe, is team speed. Maybe.
Yeah, they definitely, their whole team is NFL athletes. I mean,
right. That's what I'm saying. They're crazy.
Yeah. So, I think that
But they're
it's
definitely
also
but Indiana definitely has speed. They have guys who can run. They have Roman Hemby is not slow. Omar Cooper's pretty fast. They have guys with speed too for sure.
Yep. So we also have Elijah Surratt that's been playing really good.
I
I
mean,
think
he's Elijah Surratt or
yeah,
Surratt. Is it Surratt? I always say
Surratt,
Surratt.
Surratt,
It's,
yeah,
I think it's Surratt though. I think you're right.
Surratt, yeah,
Elijah Surratt is not just he is after Jeremiah Smith at Ohio State. I think Elijah Surratt is the next best receiver in the
I,
Big Ten. Full
yeah.
stop. I mean,
I
he's
think
unstoppable, and it doesn't matter what you do. You saw it even against Ohio State last year. Like,
mhm.
yeah, Ohio State shut Indiana down largely, but that first drive was just them throwing it to Surratt, and they eventually scored on it.
Yeah, no, and our running back room is really good too, and so I think that if we can open up the wide receivers to the outside and maintain good poise when it comes to those speed and running routes, I think that might open up the game for our running backs. If you look at the last game um, at Purdue, the running game just completely was taken over. You didn't really see a lot of the passing game, which was crazy, right?
Yep.
And Mendoza did make a mistake, but he's human just like everyone else.
Right.
But I think what Kurt has done in the coaching space is crazy. In 2 years, you could have went in this season for a lot of people thinking that it was a fluke, and it's
Yeah.
it's really crazy how well he has the culture of that team together. And so I think that he has them all believing that they can probably win a title this year.
Absolutely.
That would be outstanding because I don't know what it is about the Indiana Hoosiers. They always have that one coach that comes in, and if for basketball it was Bobby Knight. What he did with those 5 national championships. I think you're kind of getting glimpses of what Bobby did to the basketball program, what Kurt is doing to the football program here.
Now, if you just figure out the basketball coach part.
Oh man,
But the new guy looks good. The new guy looks good.
Believe it or not, I think it might still be this way, but Hoosiers are undefeated in 3 sports: basketball.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Basketball and football. So
that's impressive.
I'd say our basketball team's looking good this year, but I think if you were a Hoosier back when I was going to school there, your typical game day on Saturday was going to the tailgate fields, living it up, having a good time. You go to the game. Bigger teams, especially normally we're leaving at halftime.
Right? Because we're
getting blown out. Yeah, we're getting blown out. We're not relevant.
I actually studied this, and in the 15 years before Curt Cignetti showed up in 2024, we did a study of all the teams in the Big Ten. Indiana won the fewest games, only won 35% of their games, not their Big Ten conference games, of their total games. Only won 35% of their games for 15 years. Curt Cignetti comes in, and you've lost 2 games in 2 years.
Yep.
And no games this year. And that's bananas. Natalie in the chat says solid hat. Natalie, thank you so much for saying so. It is a solid hat indeed. And Ty from the Solid Verbal. So we appreciate him and putting that in there. And Natalie is also does a lot of content production as well, but that's a whole different thing. Yeah. So we appreciate you being in the chat and saying what's up, Natalie. And I'm curious any thoughts you have about Big Ten football thoughts you have. We'll definitely, like I said, we are reading comments in this live stream. So say
Natalie,
what's up.
Also shout out to Natalie for this hat. This is a very old hat that runs in her family. This is her papa's hat. So I wear this very sleek hat. It's not solid, but
but it's Pheasants Forever, which is old school.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That's definitely one from the vault. I love that. Gotta love a good hat. You gotta rock them sometimes. Have to. Mm-hmm. Natalie says at least we beat Wisconsin. You know what, Natalie? We did beat Wisconsin. And it wasn't the year Minnesota fans wanted to have, no, but to end up with the axe in our hands, playing jump around to troll them as they left the field, lighting off the fireworks, celebrating all the students on the field, the whole thing. It was worth it. And a snow globe game took it to them. If you want more thoughts about the Wisconsin game, go to our live stream I did on Sunday. That one was very heavy in my reaction to Minnesota, Wisconsin, as it was a really fun game to be at. Most fun I had at a Gopher game all year. No question about it. So that was great. But this is about the Big Ten title game. So we will turn back that direction. I think the other thing about this Indiana team is that it's not just the offense. They have playmakers at all three levels of the defense. You got Mikhail Kamara on the defensive line, Aiden Fisher at linebacker, D'Angelo Pons at corner, who pretty much just erases their best receiver. I mean, even against Ohio State last year, Jeremiah Smith, I think, had 3 catches against Indiana. So, with D'Angelo Pons is able to really limit what guys can do. He's a special, special player. So I think if Indiana's going to win, and right now Vegas has Ohio State as a 4.5-point favorite.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I just realized something. We are talking about this game, and I have not even said when it is. So I feel dumb about that. This game will be played Saturday, December 6th. It's a 7 p.m. game on Fox. Ohio State, Indiana in Indianapolis. And like I said, the line is Ohio State by 4.5, and the over-under is 47.5. Yeah. So they're expecting this game to be in the 20s, something like 27-22 maybe, or 25-20, something like that. 25-20, 26-21, somewhere in there. I could see that. It's Ohio State has been really great on offense this year, but they haven't been scoring a bajillion points. They've played at a slower pace, and they've tried to kind of grind teams a little more, which is not usually what Ohio State does. I think they've kind of been load managing, kind of saving their best players for the Big Ten title game in the playoff. So it'll be interesting to see in this game if Ohio State plays at that slower tempo we've seen this year, or if they say this is the Big Ten title game, we're going to speed things up, try to score some points. I could see it going either way. Andrew, what do you think about the pace of this game? Do you think this is going to be a high-scoring game, or more? Do you think it's going to be in the 20s like Vegas thinks, or do you think it's going to be more? These are teams that normally score about 40 points each.
That's what I'm saying. I think that I think between the two, I think that this will be between the 20s and 30s. If you think about, Indiana, their offense complements the defense so well. Yeah. The defense, believe it or not, I think they're ranked 4 nationally. They only have been allowing an average of 11 points per game,
which is bananas.
Which is crazy, right? Yeah. And they're throwing up 55 points. They've been playing they played the Oregon, they played top tier teams this year in the conference as well, and proved that, I mean, they can go into other places and win.
They went into Eugene and they beat Oregon.
They did.
Nobody expected them to do that. Nobody picked that.
I don't think so.
I didn't. I know I was wrong.
Yeah. One thing I also, I don't know how big of a game changer it's going to be, but this is at Lucas Oil Stadium, Indianapolis, which is about an hour 45-minute drive from Bloomington. So, as far as a home crowd goes, I think you're going to be seeing a lot of red, but you're going to be seeing a lot of candy stripes more than, you would.
More than scarlet and gray.
Yeah.
I think so too. And I think it's because, like I said earlier, Ohio State has so many big games they've had to travel for. Versus Indiana, you just have to hop in your car and drive an hour or two and you can be at this game. So I expect it to be a heavy Indiana, the crowd to lean heavily in Indiana's favor. Back to the chat quick. Natalie says, I mean, if it all comes down to it, yes, at least we can still say F Wisconsin. Yes, we can, Natalie. We can say F Wisconsin, and I appreciate that. And then David in the chat says, if Indiana basketball beats Louisville, 2 p.m. in Indy, the IU crowd will be something to see. Oh, yeah. Indiana, Louisville, a legendary basketball rivalry for sure. A big one. You're right. If Indiana wins that and then they win their first Big Ten title in 48 years.
Yep.
It's going to be, 58 years. Wow. Long time. That it's going to be, things are going to be absolutely bananas. So I want to talk a little bit about like scheme. Pro Football Focus has these two teams ranked at the top in the country. And what I think's interesting is that Fernando Mendoza has been fantastic this year. I mean, he may win the Heisman Trophy. He's been unbelievable. But I
Yep.
will say he against man coverage, he hasn't been quite as good as he has been against zone coverage. He can't miss. I mean, he couldn't miss in the ocean. Against man coverage at times, against Oregon, against Iowa, their receivers weren't able to get loose the same way as they have against other teams. And he wasn't quite as effective in that situation. So look for if Ohio State thinks they can man up on the outside. If they can play man coverage and get away with it against Elijah Surratt, against Omar Cooper, it could be a benefit. It could be something that's in Ohio State's favor. If they can't, though, if they have to play zone because they can't hang with those receivers, then we could see a lot of points scored. In this game. I'm not predicting that. I'm predicting kind of a lower scoring game, but I could totally see it going that direction as well.
Yeah, I think that really what it's going to come all down to, the fact of the matter is, you got Ohio State, that you got a team that expects to win big games. They've been there.
Yep.
Their defense in particular, they collapse the pockets like crazy. They force bad throws, which is where Mendoza's decision making is really going to come into play.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can't block them, I think your playbook really shrinks by halftime, and things could get really messy because Indiana also is a team that we've seen, especially last year when you look at their run that they had. Things can get out of control really quick, and that's just what teams that haven't been on that big stage in a long time. I think that there's a feeling that, especially when you're on the big stage, you're more prone to make mistakes, and it gets a little bit more. It all comes down to how clutch you can be, when things are going south, right?
Yeah, I mean, we saw last year Indiana, Ohio State, when that punter had the ball go through his hands. I mean, that was, that's like little plays like that are devastating in games that are this big. You have to execute. You have to do the small things right, and hit on some big plays if you're going to have any chance.
Yeah, and I think that Ohio State, they if you look at all their games too, they come out swinging. They're overconfident, and so they always have had though tight games with underdogs, and that's when Ohio State starts to tone it back a little bit. I think Indiana's always stayed consistent, regardless. It's not like they've had a game where they came out swinging it and were taking really risky plays. I think they've always just stuck to the playbook, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, some teams hope to win these big games. Ohio State, some teams hope to win these big games. Ohio State, I think they always expect to. And
always.
So they've been to the playoffs. They've been on the national title games. And so that's where that experience, you got Ohio State's team, if you think about it, their backups would be, stars in other schools. I mean, they have continuously brought in 5-star recruits, so when it comes to, rotating the lineup, everyone on that team, they've had 5-star recruits, 5-star, 5-star. Their backups are 5.
Yeah, everyone's their backup. Their stringers are more talented than your starters. Yeah.
So I think that's, for Indiana, Mendoza said it best this week.
Not like Indiana, but like you, as in like in general.
Yeah, exactly.
Not like Indiana this year. That's not what I was trying to say.
Yeah. But Mendoza said it best this year, and I think that Indiana understands where they are as a team. Mendoza was saying this week how this whole locker room is a full of misfits. These are players that no other colleges wanted to take them on starting roles.
A lot of them were in James Madison. We're at a group of 5 school, and Signetti got them there because nobody wanted them at the higher levels. It's crazy.
No one, and so he said, we've always had that chip on our shoulder, going into these games, and that really just speaks volumes on how great Kurt Signetti has taken the misfits and made them believe that, you know, they belong in a good program and they belong on a national stage, which is, I mean, it's just, this is by far probably one of the best Big Ten matchups in the title game in the history of the Big Ten, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing these title games for like 15 years.
Yeah,
And I don't think there's ever been a title game with teams this highly ranked with this much at stake. I don't think there has been.
Yeah. I think, you know, it's hard for me to argue even that we belong at the number 1 spot, because Ohio State has proven
they're
that
terrifying.
Yeah.
And that defense, man, you talk about as good as Indiana's defense has been. Ohio State has only had one team score double-digit points. Illinois managed to get above 10. Nobody else has scored more than 9 points against them.
Yep.
Nobody. So that's bananas. Like, to be that dominant, Ohio State doesn't just have one of the best defenses in college football. They have one of the best college football defenses I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I think a big thing is going to be, for me, is can Indiana up front block defensive ends, Caden Curry, Kenyatta Jackson, and then linebacker Arvell Reese. Those guys have combined for like a ton of sacks, a ton of them. And if Indiana struggles to block those guys and they can get to Fernando Mendoza, then this is not going to be as close a game as Vegas thinks it's going to be.
Yeah, no, if they can't protect Mendoza, that's going to be really bad. And then also, you know, if you think about it from the defense standpoint with the Hoosiers, these guys, if you really have watched, you know, you can sit back and just really, if you study their defense and watch how they fly to the ball, it's crazy. And that's the product of a scrappy misfit. Like, you know, like they're disciplined to, you know, minimize explosive plays, because when you're not flying to the ball, explosive plays can happen off the run. And then also
guys are going to break tackles. You need to have everybody rallying to the ball 100%, like 100%, like full speed, or else you're going to give up big plays, period.
Yeah. Let's ask you a question. If Minnesota were playing Ohio State in the title game this weekend, how many points do you think the Gophers would have to score to, you know, make that
win?
a bowl game?
I think if you're going to beat Ohio State, you have to score at least 30 points.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how you hold Ohio State under 30 points.
Yeah.
Because they not only do they have, you know, 3 deep at receiver with the two of the 5 best receivers in the country, and Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate. And Brandon Innes is really good too. And Max Clare is a phenomenal tight end. And Bo Jackson is the best running back they've had in years.
Oh yeah.
And he's just a freshman.
Yeah.
You know, doing what he's doing out there. I think if you're going to beat Ohio State, you need to score at least 30 points. You need to win the turnover battle.
Yeah.
You need some short fields. So you need to get Ohio State to turn it over on their side of the field so that you can, you know, have drives that are 20 or 30 or 40 yards long, not 60 or 70 or 80 or 90. Like, I just think you need because they're just not going to give up that many yards because they're freakish. They're too tough. So you need short fields, and then you need to score whenever you get the ball. So I think you need to force Julian Sayin to make mistakes. The problem is that as good as Fernando Mendoza has been, you could argue Julian Sayin's even better. Yeah. I mean, the man is completing nearly 80% of his passes, 79% of his passes, which if the season ended, if that holds, I think will be a record, like an all-time record, which is just crazy. Insane. And, you know, obviously it helps to have phenomenal receivers, but on the season, 30 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, over 3,000 yards passing, 79% completions. He is a robot out there. He is a robot, not a football player. It's like I feel like I'm watching like Tom Brady or something at times, watching Julian Sayin, because he doesn't make mistakes and the ball's always where you want it to be.
Yep. I think that, you know, the implications on this game also is going to come, you know, 2 of these guys, both, they are, they're Heisman number 1 and 2, right?
Oh, so, I think the winner wins the Heisman.
I think the winner of this game ultimately, you know, will be the Heisman winner.
Yes.
You know, which is crazy.
Oh, it's
But they're both
bananas.
very good quarterbacks.
This isn't a game. This is a Disney movie, Andrew. Like, are you kidding me? So we've got the top two teams are in the same conference and they're playing for the conference title and the Heisman Trophy at the end of the year, right before. I mean, this is like if you had scripted this out for Indiana, a team that's the losingest team in Big Ten history, to get Kurt Signetti, turn it all around and become a juggernaut overnight. I mean, it doesn't feel real.
Yeah, and I again, old me would have said, "Oh man, Mendoza's way better." But if you really, if you line up these guys' stats,
they're very close.
Neck, I mean, it is like they're pretty similar. I'd say Ohio State, he has a just a little bit of advantage. I say, interceptions are minimal. But the percent on completions is crazy. I don't think we've ever seen that. And that's just the product of the quarterbacks at Ohio State always, ends up pumping out. These guys always go pro.
They always do. Every Ohio State starting quarterback is a professional quarterback in waiting. I mean, Joe Burrow was a backup quarterback in waiting for Ohio State. So they have nothing but talent at the quarterback position. And yeah, I think Julian Saint's even more accurate than CJ Stroud was, and CJ Stroud was incredible.
Yeah, I think I've noticed that Saint also on the blitz, he'll just bomb it out, and that's when your wide receivers compliment him really well.
Yeah,
and that's what Indiana's going to have a hard time doing is making sure the game doesn't get out of hand, because the momentum switch in a game like this is gonna be a really big deal.
That's the fear, is that you can't let one bad play turn into two bad plays, turn into five bad plays. And against Ohio State, they're so talented and so fast and so skilled that it can snowball on you really quickly if you aren't playing your best ball and if you make any mistakes. I mean, you can't be turning the ball over against Ohio State and expect to win.
No, facts. Like I said, this one's going to be a really good game. I think that Indiana is going to settle this. If there was a game to really ink in your season and to say that you belong in the national championship game and that this is going to be a consistent football team moving forward as well. I think that this is going to be the game that they have to really prove themselves, because I don't know another team that really aligns with Ohio State either.
Not in college football. Nobody's been close to them this year.
Yeah, I would say the one team that I would have looked at to see if we were really who we say we are, is the Oregon Ducks, right? And we went into Eugene. That's when I go, oh shit, okay, we're a good team. We can go into tough places to win that are loud, obnoxious, and scrappy.
Yeah. And I mean, Oregon is other than Ohio State, when you get past Ohio State, Oregon's as talented as anybody in the country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I mean, they truly are. So to beat them at their place was unreal. I kind of think both Sayin and Mendoza will do good things and play well. I don't think they'll put up big stats, because I don't think it's going to be that kind of game. But I think they'll both be effective and efficient for the most part. I kind of think it could come down to who runs the ball better. Can either team run the ball at all?
Yep.
If neither team can run the ball, I think that's probably a benefit for Indiana, because I think there's a chance, because if Ohio State can run the ball and Indiana can't run the ball, it's going to be a long day. Because then they're going to be able to put together long drives, keep Indiana's offense off the field, and get Indiana's defense tired. You don't want that. That's a recipe for disaster. So I think a question is, can either team run the ball at all? Obviously, for Indiana, you got Roman Hemby and Kalen Black, who have both been great. And then Ohio State's got a few guys who can play, but really it's Bo Jackson who's the leader of that. And I think the guy who can really, really get the job done. Oh, Dom in the chat, former guest host and friend of the pod, Dom, says, catching up from the beginning, Little 5 is 200 laps, same number of laps as the Indy.
Yeah, 200. It's half the laps. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
And then the Little 50, that's they do just 50 laps on a track. The Little 500 actually is gravel, and so and it's a single speed bike, and so you gotta handing off a bike like you would a baton. You
That's
work
hard.
8 months out of the year with your team to do clean handoffs. It's crazy. Like some people like let the bike ghost ride, and then you got to learn how to keep pace, hop on the bike. If you fall in that gravel, though, man, they have
That's
meta.
gotta hurt.
Obama was there, I think our sophomore year. But like they have all these guest stars that come, and it's basically the biggest college weekend in the history of college.
Very
So
cool.
to win the Little 50 was pretty cool, and to stamp something in the history books.
Yeah.
Um,
That's very cool, dude.
yeah,
Congratulations on that again. That is impressive. Um, Going back to my big questions are: can either team run the ball? I think if neither team can run the ball, it's going to be lower scoring, and I think that's probably in Indiana's favor. Obviously, if either team can run the ball, I think that team's going to have a big advantage in this game. But yeah, I think it's all about a fast start for Indiana. You do not want to be playing from behind against Ohio State. You don't want it to get out 10-0 or 14-0 or something. Like if you're Indiana, like I kind of think you got to blow your blow your big plays early. Try to scheme some stuff up where you can get the right matchups one-on-one and just throw the ball down the field. See if you can score early. If you can score
yeah,
early and get a lead, make Ohio State, make Julian Sayin sweat a little bit, which is not something he's had to do this year.
yep,
Maybe you can force Ohio State into some mistakes. Maybe you can ride that. I think Indiana is as capable of beating Ohio State as anybody in the country. I know there are people who think that Georgia would be a better matchup, but I don't think Georgia's that good at quarterback.
yeah. No,
I don't think Gunnar Stockton is that good. I don't think their receivers are that good. I don't think they actually match up. I think Indiana is a much tougher matchup for Ohio State because they're a lot more dynamic offensively than an Oklahoma or a Georgia or some of those teams at the top of the SEC who are maybe a little more, who are not as balanced of teams. You've got Alabama who can't really run the ball. You've got Georgia who's got a quarterback who's, fine. You got Texas who lost 3 games because Arch Manning can't ever decide how good he is from play to play, from game to game, from anything to anything. So I think the idea, I bristle at the idea that Indiana isn't a worthy opponent for Ohio State. Look, Vegas is calling this a 4.5 point spread. That shows you how much respect they have for Indiana.
Oh, 100%. I also think that you look at some of these other quarterbacks that coming into college. I mean, Mendoza, he's played well wherever he's went, right? He went to, he's had quite the
He was
journey.
at Cal, right?
Yeah, he has had
He was
quite the
great.
journey, but underrated from a standpoint that, and he hasn't even, taken that stardom to the level that Arch Manning and all these guys do. And
I mean, Mendoza, he could be a top 5 pick in next year's NFL draft. Julian Sayin can't go pro yet. He's only 2 years out. I think Mendoza, I believe this is Mendoza's 3rd year. He could be the top quarterback taken in the next draft. I think he should be.
Yeah, I think that they're talking about him being the top quarterback prospect on the board, and he's probably going to end up in Oakland or Cleveland. I think that he's one of those guys that just studies the book and is an analytical thinker. This guy,
he makes really good decisions.
I mean, yeah, he makes good decisions off the field too. Like this guy, until if he wasn't going to NFL, this guy's still in class and doing internships and wants to learn how businesses are structured. And so I think that's kind of cool to have someone that is disciplined and will figure out a way to make a team or business win. Right.
Yeah. I mean, PJ Fleck likes to say when your best players are your hardest workers, you have a good team.
Yep.
And that's what makes teams go is when their best players want it the most.
Yeah.
And Fernando Mendoza wants it, man. People get on him because he's kind of cocky, but like, be cocky. You're good enough.
Do you really think that people think he's cocky?
He's not Diego Pavia, but there was that one. What did he say when he went on that thing where he's like, we can throw for 300 or we can run for 300. Whatever you got, we got something else. I think people took that as cocky, but I don't mind, dude. Be confident.
Yeah, I like
He's earned the right to talk like that, is what I'm saying.
no facts. I think you look at Kurt too. Like, it doesn't even matter if we're up 50-0. If something goes wrong in the offense or defense, the dude looks like the most. He looks like
I mean,
the
that dude looks
most.
angry.
He looks the
He
most
does
pissed
not
off
crack a
person.
smile until the game is over.
No, he will not. I don't
It's
even think
wild.
some of the
It's
games he
wild
doesn't even.
watching him. He looks so upset at every halftime. They're like, "Oh, we did this and this and this." And it's like, Kurt, it's 31-0. What do you
Yeah,
mean you did all these things wrong? Get out of
yeah,
here.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think you said it best. I think that this game really is all going to come down to surviving the speed of Ohio State.
Yeah.
So I think that if any team is meant to do it, it's going to be Indiana because their season and their discipline and stamina to be able to keep up, but minimize the mistakes on the defensive end. I think that Ohio State's going to come out, with all the speed, and
They're going to
so
come out guns blazing. They're going to see
yeah,
if you can
I
hang.
think they are
They're going to see
because
if you can hang with them. Yeah,
yeah, because
absolutely.
if they can get Indiana in a place where they're chasing Ohio State in this game, it's going to be bad because Indiana has not been in a position this year yet where they are in the hole and figuring out how to climb themselves out of it.
Right.
We've been up. Every game has been. We've always had a little bit of comfort, which for
I mean, against Oregon, it was close, though. That
yeah, it
was
was
not too
close.
bad.
It was close, but not, it wasn't like it was, up 14, 21 points to
Right.
where you're like, you have a little bit of a panic mode in anything you
Right.
do when you're like, oh shit, you're watching the time, you're starting to really dig deep in your playbook to figure out ways to close that gap. And so I think if we can keep them to a point where they're not up as many points and keep the game close, and even better, put up more points than them. I don't even think Ohio State's played from behind this year
No, they have not.
at all.
They have not.
So
If
I'm
you
trying to
get
think.
Ohio State behind, that'll
Trying to
be the
think
first time.
who was the closest bet this year on Ohio State's schedule.
The closest to them,
I'd
Texas.
have to look it up to see.
In the first game against Texas was the closest they got.
Okay.
It was 14-7.
Yeah.
And that was before the Ohio State offense kind of figured it out.
Yeah.
They kind of figured it out shortly after that. But that's the hope, right? That you can limit Ohio State's running game, make them one-dimensional, get some pressure on Julian Sayin, maybe force a turnover or two, that kind of thing.
Yep.
In the chat, David says Mendoza will be more mobile than Rourke was last year. Rourke supposedly had a torn ACL. Yes. Curtis Rourke was playing on a torn ACL last year. That's why it's amazing he did as well as he did. But yeah, Fernando Mendoza is versus an injured Curtis Rourke. I mean, even if Curtis Rourke had not had the ACL, Fernando Mendoza is a better athlete. So Mendoza being able to create with his legs, that's definitely something that Ohio State has not really faced in an elite team with due respect to Michigan, you're not an elite passing attack. So like this, Ohio State has not really seen an elite passing attack with a mobile quarterback. All due respect to, I guess Illinois is the closest. Illinois is the closest to being that. When they were healthy earlier in the year, they scored some points on Ohio State. They made it hard for them a little bit. So I think that's the closest you got. But of course, we saw what Indiana did to Illinois.
Yep.
That wasn't a game. That was a public beating.
That was a chastising of Illinois was
the redheaded stepchild.
Yeah, and for Illinois, for their sake, I think that they realize they're not. I think they realize their shit doesn't stink, or shit does stink just like everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, people thought Illinois was a playoff contender. I know I did. That game sort of announced that they were good, but not as good maybe as we thought they were.
They're still are they?
They went 8-4, so they went all right.
Their ranking right now is
they're not ranked, but they went 8-4, so they had a pretty good
I think they were ranked 9 when we played them. Correct?
Yeah, they were ranked pretty well when you played them. Yeah,
but
Max in the chat, nervous for this weekend. Studying for finals is distracting me. Good for you, Max. Keep that studying up. Good for you, man. The OSU front seven versus the IU OL is what to watch. I'm with you. I think either if Indiana can block Ohio State, this is a game. This is a game. It's going to come down to the last possession. It's going to be intense. Like, that's going to be like, it could be, anybody could win. If Indiana can't block Ohio State, though, if they can't block those defensive ends and the linebackers like Arvell Reese coming off the edge, then it could be a harder time for Indiana to hang. IU defense needs to hold OSU under 3 TDs, 21 wins it. I don't know if you can hold. Oh, I don't know if that's true. I think it's in the mid 20s. Yeah. I don't think you're going to beat Ohio State with 21 points.
I don't think you're going to be able to hold Ohio State to under 21 points.
Yeah, I think if you hold Ohio State to 30 or under, I think you kind of did your job as a defense, and it's up it's up to the offense and special teams to make up the difference and score enough points to give you a chance to win.
For sure.
Yeah. All right. So we talked about it a lot. Curious what people think in the chat, but before we go any further, I'm curious. It's been 21 wins it for Ohio State. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying, Max. Yeah, maybe, but I don't. Again, it depends if Indiana can block you or not. If Indiana can block you, then I think they can score more than 20 points. 20, I think they can. I think they can score closer to 30 points, and then we've got a real game on our hands. So we've talked about it a lot. We've gone back and forth for 51 minutes here. Andrew, I got to ask, what's your score? Who do you have winning and why?
Well, I think that this is going to be, I think it's going to be if I were to predict the score, I want to say I have Indiana 35, Ohio State 32. I think it's going to be a really close game. I think
taking the Hoosiers. I like that.
I think these teams put up, 60 points. I think it's going to be a nail biter. I think it's going to be close. I don't think we get in I don't think anyone reaches 40 points, 50 points. I mean, these are two caliber teams that both have good defenses, but I think that there will be some gaps and some flaws that each team will take advantage of each other,
yeah.
But I wholeheartedly think that Indiana is going to be able to keep up pace with Ohio State. But yeah, so I'm taking my Hoosiers 35-32 in this game. Yeah.
I like that. Dom in the chat says, hate to keep being Captain Fact Check. No, Dom, we love that about you. I appreciate it. Says Bobby Knight won 3 titles. The other 2 were Branch McCracken.
Oh, yeah. Well, I said Bobby Knight was the start of the start of getting Indiana. Indiana has a total
but
of
I think Branch McCracken was before Knight.
Oh, yeah. 100%. Bobby Knight was the start of leading them to some of the national titles they got. But yeah.
But he did. Knight did a great job. Obviously, won the 3 titles. Was perennial contender. He was amazing. No, Dom has got me, dude. Dom got me on the air once. Andrew, he was guest hosting, and he's like, "Hey, you're wrong about this thing." And I was like, "What?" And it was about like we were saying what platforms we were on, and he's like, "Yeah, that one doesn't exist anymore." And he didn't tell me off the air. He got me on the air.
Yeah.
So I mean, Dom keeps me on my toes. I appreciate that. And he said IU women's basketball lost their first game Sunday to Iowa State.
Did they? Okay. Wow.
And Iowa State obviously has, I forget what her name is, but they have a really good, their center is really great. Max in the chat says Ohio State 34, Indiana 17. Oh, Max, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think it's going to be a beating like that at all. I actually think Indiana's going to do some things, especially in the first half. Yeah. Like I think that they're going to scheme some stuff up. I think Elijah Surratt is basically impossible to cover. Like I like Omar Cooper. I like Charlie Becker. I think those guys are good players. But like Elijah Surratt, man, like even if he's covered, he's gonna get the ball anyway.
Yeah, 100%.
You can be there, but he's still gonna catch it.
Yeah.
And I think you see Indiana go to him a lot in the first half. I don't think either team's gonna run the ball as well, especially in the first half. It's going to be close, back and forth. I think it's going to hinge on turnovers, stuff like that. I think the Hoosiers might even have a lead at the break. But I look at the way Julian Sayan's playing right now, man. And with that group of receivers, Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, Brandon Innes, Max Clare, I can't – and the defense is playing at a historically high level, giving up single digits pretty much every game but one. I can't pick Ohio State to lose here. I want to pick Indiana to win this game. My significant other comes from a bit Hoosier season ticket holders. Super fan of the show, super fan Sherry will be and Vince will be at the Indiana game cheering on their Hoosiers, and I hope they win. I hope you win. Andrew, I hope for your sake you win. If I'm being honest, in my heart of hearts, I feel like this is a game where Ryan Day finds a way, rallies in the second half. Jeremiah Smith makes a couple catches that are just impossible, where it doesn't matter if he's covered. And I've got Ohio State 27, Indiana 20.
Okay.
So I think it comes down to the end. I think it comes down to who has the ball last and makes a play. I think Ohio State makes one more play than Indiana does in this game. But I think it's really close.
I think that's fair. I think it's going to be a nail biter. I think it's, I think it will be a 4-point difference or 5-point difference, maybe a touchdown. But, Indiana, both the defenses are crazy. Indiana has only been holding people to 249 yards per game offense total. So I don't think that's something that I think Ohio State's not really used to. As far as when it comes to playing a defense like that.
No, this will be the best offense and defense Ohio State's seen. I mean, I guess you and Texas is a great defense too. This will be the best offense by far Ohio State's seen all year. And this and Texas are the two best defenses they've seen all year, for sure. And we saw against Texas, they only scored 14 points. Now, granted, that was the first game of the year, so you take it a little bit with a grain of salt. But it shows that it's at least possible to slow Ohio State down.
Yep.
And I think that's what has to happen. I don't think, you say 60 points. I don't think it's going to be that many. I think we see we see both teams force turnovers. Both teams play really well defensively and show up. And like I said, I just think, Julian Sayin leads a touchdown drive in a tie game late, and that's the difference. But it should be an awesome game. And here's the thing, Indiana fans and Ohio State fans, if you lose here, you're still going to get a bye in the playoff. You're still going to have a shot to win a national title. You're still going to have this isn't the end of the road for either of these teams, no matter what happens on Saturday.
I was just going to ask you, what do you think? I have an idea of kind of what the playoff implications would look like, vice versa. Indiana wins or Ohio State wins, but what do you think? What do you think that coming out of this game? Given both win or loss for both these teams, where do they take that moving into this bracket for the college football playoffs?
Well, I think the winner is going to be number one for sure, because Ohio State's been number one, since that first week, and Indiana's number two. So the winner of this game will be number one. They will have the top seed in the playoff. There's no question about it. I think the loser only drops to 3. Because I think Georgia will go up to 2 because they'll win the SEC title game over Alabama. But if Georgia loses the SEC title game, then you could see the loser of this game still be number 2 potentially.
Yeah.
That's possible. I don't think they drop to 4. I don't think that happens because then somebody else would have to jump them. And I just don't think that's going to happen with any of the teams that are out there unless – I guess maybe if Texas Tech wins by 30 points, maybe they jump them to 3, and Indiana or Ohio State, the loser ends up 4. But I don't think so. I think the loser will be the 3rd seed, which is still a great seed. And going into the playoff, the Big Ten will have, Ohio State and Indiana with byes, and then Oregon as a team that nobody wants to play. Nobody wants to play Oregon in the playoff.
No one wants to play Oregon, and we definitely don't again.
No, you don't want to have to see them again. You already played them. You got that win. You don't want to have to see them again for sure.
Yeah.
So I think the Big Ten is poised to win another national title here. I don't know who's going to do it, but I think one of those 3 teams is going to win a national title. Now, if I have to guess, I'm going to pick Ohio State because Ohio State is what it is. But I could easily see Oregon or Indiana doing it too. And if you had said to Indiana fans, if you had gone to them when Tom Allen went 3-9 2 years ago, and said, hey, you're going to have a shot to win a Big Ten title and a national title in 2 years.
Would anyone
have believed you?
We would have asked you what drugs you were doing.
Right? So, I feel like Indiana's kind of got nothing to lose here. You know what I mean? Yeah. They've come so far. They've already surpassed a lot of expectations. I'm sure Indiana fans and the team, I'm sure they want to win this badly. But to me, even if they lose, you're just in a really, really great spot.
Yeah, no,
And
I also to capitalize on just where you end up after this. I'd say as long as, I mean, for Ohio State, I don't think either team's gonna get blown out of this game.
no, I
But
don't
that
think
would
so.
be the only reason why I think that number one and number two would even change for either team.
Yeah.
I think that it'll be a close enough game to where they'll hold their position in the rankings as well. But I'm a Hoosier hopeful. I think this is by far for me the craziest game that I've ever looked forward to probably in my whole life.
I mean, it's the
Um,
most important game in at least since 1967. At
yeah,
least since then, it's the most important game the Indiana Hoosiers have had. So
yeah.
that's amazing. I'm not gonna lie, I'm jealous. I'm jealous. You got here, you got to the Big Ten title game before we did, and I mean, congrats. I'm happy for you. I hope you win. But there's a little part of me that's like, oh man, if Indiana can do it, maybe we can do it too.
Yeah, I think that
I think that's how a lot of teams feel. Like Signetti has given a lot of people hope around the country
yeah,
that
no,
they can
100%.
make it. They can do it. They probably won't, most of them, but at least you've seen it can be done.
Yeah. No, 100%. I always wondered going back to Indiana, it's like we've always been known as the basketball school.
Yep.
Never been known in football. I don't know,
Right.
from a Gopher standpoint, if you guys are known in more of
We're
basketball
more
or
of a
football.
football school,
I'd say probably
definitely.
more football, right?
Yeah, we've our
Um,
basketball team we had some moments, but normally haven't been very good in
yeah.
basketball. Yeah.
But I think every team should hit a point where where do you take when does the point when hype officially turns into expectations? I think that's the problem with a lot of teams in college football is there's a lot of hype and then you have that one game that's like, oh gosh, and you get this sinking feeling in your stomach, right? And I'm just glad we haven't had that this year with Hoosier football. I mean,
Right.
even if we would have lost maybe the Oregon game by a couple points, I still wouldn't have that feeling because
No.
we're still living up to the expectations and that hype that I mean, the first few games of the season for Indiana, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's the easy part of the schedule. You really come to find out. I think Oregon was the game that,
Oregon was the moment you knew Indiana
yeah, that was the moment.
not kidding around at all.
Yeah,
They had shown they were a really good team when they beat Illinois, but the Oregon game made the whole nation say, "Oh wow, this is a great team." Let's look at this chat quick. Max says, "Imagine Ryan Day of Ohio State going from the hot seat to back-to-back national championships in 20 games." I mean, it's true. After last year, rewind to then, they lose to Michigan to go to 10-2. Everyone was ready to fire him. He goes through the playoff unexpectedly, wins the national title, and now he's at a point where he could have gone from about to get fired to back-to-back national champion. I mean, you got to give Ryan Day a lot of credit. I think Curt Cignetti is the coach of the year, but you have to give Ryan Day a lot of credit.
you do. I think both. I mean, these teams are just so similar in how every bit of operations, coaching, the players. It's just they're so similar, and that's what makes this game actually. It's not a clear cut answer when it comes down to who's going to win this game. I think it's all going to come down to not losing your identity to what you've already had this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good point.
Nittany Nation Mish says Penn State's expecting 70 players from the portal. What's your thoughts? I mean, my thoughts are when you don't sign any high school players, then you have to get a bunch of portal players. And Penn State doesn't have a coach. Penn State, when they fired James Franklin, they clearly thought either Curt Cignetti or Lane Kiffin or Kalen DeBoer or somebody was going to say yes. And no one has said yes. And now they got turned down by Kalani Sitake of BYU. And they are in a desperate position. I mean, I just think I said it when it happened. It was a mistake to fire James Franklin for one bad year. And
Yeah.
It was definitely a mistake to fire him when you didn't have a coach lined up. That's amateur hour. At this point, when you fire a coach, you should already have your next coach lined up. That should be the way it is. So for Penn State to do that without having a place to land it's turning out to be a debacle. And like maybe they'll still get a good coach, but like, yikes, it's not looking great.
Yeah, no, and that's a great point. And I think, the college football in general changed this last weekend. I mean, I think we all saw what happened with Lane Kiffin and his move is.
Yeah.
I mean, you got coaches leaving programs
and not make the playoff, which
not
is
not getting down to the drawing board of what the future looks like until this point in the season. And you got your AD and you guys are arguing, and any team would have dreamt. I think Ole Miss fans still probably have a good sense of a good feeling in their heart as far as where this is going to go. But I think that you'll figure out what that team is made of now, with all the changes that they've had. But I really think it comes down to the team and the players. Like, how do you deal with that? Are you just going to continue on playing how you're playing? But you do need a leader as far as like a head coach goes to keep you grounded, and that's
they need to hire somebody as soon as possible.
Yeah.
I mean, National Signing Day is tomorrow and they don't have a coach.
Yeah.
And like Max said in the chat, Penn State's down to 4 high school players for signing day. Normally you sign like 25.
Oh, wow. They only got 4. Wow.
Because they haven't had a coach. So all the players that were going to sign under Franklin have flipped, many of them to Virginia Tech to follow James Franklin. Dave in the chat said IU plays Minnesota at the Barn tomorrow night in basketball. Yes, and Minnesota just lost their point guard to a season-ending injury. So my guess is that game is not going to go well for the Gophers. I'm probably not going to watch, just to be totally real about that, because it's not going to be great. And then Nittany Nation Mish says, you aren't even considering how Penn State's a senior-heavy team on top of this. Oh, yeah. You lose your senior class. You don't have guys. I mean, this could hurt Penn State for years. Like, it'll hurt next year, and it could hurt for, multiple years after this if, they have to find a coach who can just absolutely crush the portal just to be competitive next year. And then, they're missing an entire high school class. It's going to take a couple of years of recruiting to fix the mess they made by firing James Franklin without a backup plan.
Yeah, I think Penn State's going to have a rebuilding year. I mean,
yeah,
coming from a Hoosier, I could tell Penn State fans don't panic because you got a prestigious program.
Yes.
I would sure hope that you guys are able to lure a coach that not only will players follow him, but also, you'll have players that that coach was recruiting out of high school. Some of these high school players to get something going at least, right?
Yeah.
Because Penn State, by any means, I think that with their program in general, I think that if you get it all really will depend on the coach that you guys get in there. I think there's going to be viable options,
yeah, but you gotta make a decision. You gotta make a decision because that guy's got to come in and start doing damage control.
Yep, 100%.
All right, Andrew, it's been a little over an hour. I think we've addressed everything in the chat. I think let's wrap this up. Anything you want to say before you get out of here? I will go link Andrew's Instagram in here. He has a big following there, so check him out there for all kinds of stuff, cool videos, and yeah, Andrew does a lot of interesting things. So thanks for coming on the show, man. I really appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate you.
Good luck to Indiana on Saturday.
No, I appreciate you having me on the podcast here. Shout out to everyone in the comments. You built a pretty awesome pod to speak on some of the interesting headlines, especially. I'm sorry we couldn't talk about the Gophers as much more, but
no, it's okay. When we make a Big Ten title game, we can talk about the Gophers.
Facts.
Week.
Facts. I mean,
we do that. It's not going to be a week we talk about the Gophers much. When the Bulls will come out next week, then we can talk about the Gophers.
Yeah, basketball. Yeah, I mean,
no, but I'm saying the Bulls, like the postseason football.
Oh yeah.
Then we can talk about the Gophers again. But but not in championship week.
Yeah, well, I mean, it'll be a dream one day when me and you were discussing the Gophers versus the Hoosiers, maybe for a title game.
Man,
I don't know.
Wouldn't that be amazing? That'd be one. That would be one. That'd be
good. Thank you. I appreciate it.
We can make up for the 3-way tie we had with Purdue in 1967. All right, Andrew. Thank you again for coming on the
Hoosiers.
show.
Thank you again. Yep.
And yes, go Hoosiers. Good luck to both teams on Saturday. And yeah, we'll see who was right and who was wrong. Gophers Hoosiers ain't ever happening, says Max. Yeah, probably not, Max, but we can dream, man.
We can dream.
Don't take away my hope from me. It's important. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for checking this out. And I will be going live again after the Big Ten title game finishes. So regardless of who wins or loses, I will go live and we will talk about it. So feel free to join me then. That'll be about a little, the game will be over probably 10:30, and I'll go live immediately after that on Saturday night. Max says OH. I'll give you an IO, although I am rooting for the Hoosiers in this game. But it should be a great game. I'm really excited to watch it. Number 1 versus number 2, biggest Big Ten title game of all time. Going to be amazing. So thanks again, Andrew. Thanks to everybody who watched and participated in the chat. I appreciate all of you. And we will see you in the next one. We'll see you live on Saturday night.